Hi guys, Aceface back with another video for you. We're coming at you with another 8th edition battle report, and as you would have seen in the last one, this will be another short form battle report. We're just trying to get that content in for you thick and fast as much as we can, and we don't want the 8th edition rustiness meaning these videos are too long, but hopefully you're enjoying the content so far. I'm very excited to bring you this battle report. As you can kind of see what's coming at you on this table, but today we're going to play a tactical escalation Maelstrom of War mission. So it's going to be something a little bit different. We are at the Northwest Open, looking forward to a wicked weekend. Obviously I will be TOing, really looking forward to it, with so many cool armies and so many cool players at the event, but I couldn't let it go by without an opportunity to play a game and get another battle report out for you. So today we have got High Fleet Voro representing, as always, and we've got an exciting return of Harry the Harridan, with his actual channel debut from a battle report, which is very exciting. He's actually got quite a lot of boosts in 8th edition. He's probably a little bit too expensive. He's definitely not an absolute auto-include powerhouse, but he's a good unit, and I'm really excited to get him in this battle report. And I'm playing a good buddy, Will. Say hello, Will.
Good afternoon, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe.
Cheers for that. Will, a long-time supporter of the channel, so it's great to have an opportunity to play him. Played him once before, and it was a pretty epic game there back in 7th edition. So what we'll do now is we will pop back, have a little look at the armies, and we'll jump into the deployment and where those objectives are going to be. Right guys, so this is going to be really short, sharp and sweet because there's not a lot to go over, but it is cool, and that is the main thing. So we're going to jump in with High Fleet Voro, and representing we have Harry the Harridan. He's going to be my warlord. This is a super heavy detachment, so basically just consisting of 3 super heavies, and that gives me 3 command points, which is pretty cool. So Harridan's going to lead the force. Old Harry representing. He's very good unit, a little bit more expensive than I'd like him to be, but he will do some work. And the nice thing about Harry is, unlike the other guys that you'll see in a second, he can choose what he wants to target. The other guys do suffer a little bit from being having instinctive behaviour, which is a bit of a pain. Harry doesn't have that worry, so he is a solid unit and will go after what he wants to. He's got 30 wounds. He does pack a bit of a punch. He's a little bit softer than I'd like him to be as well, but really excited to get on the battlefield mega quick. So you'll see him in action very quickly. And he's flanked by his buddies. So we've got one Harridan over here, one Barbed Hurrigil, I should say, and the Barbed Hurrigil there, he's obviously stock standard, they all are. So he's got his lovely bio cannons. We've got another one over here. These are yet to be deployed, but I just thought I'd show you them now. We've got another one there, and we've got, again, another debut. We've got the Scathed Hurrigil, who actually I reckon is probably the better bet, if I'm being brutally honest. He's incredibly brutal in combat, tons and tons of attacks, and that flamer means he's really difficult to assault as well. He'll do a lot of damage. So, and he's a little bit cheaper. So I quite like him, and I've always been a massive massive fan of this particular model, so really cool to get him on the board. He's a little bit smaller than the others, but I think he's a really stunning model. So that's my army, just 4 models, so it's going to be pretty brutal, but we'll see how we get on. And now we'll have a look at the Genstealer cult that's coming up against High Fleet Voro today. Cool, and we're facing up against some more Tyranids. Well, I'm going to call them Tyranids because the first time Tyranids vs Tyranids have been on the channel. So even though this is Genstealer cult, I'm still going to use that as a debut. So it's a really cool opportunity to get two sets of bugs on the table at the same time, even though they're very different armies. So we've got 2 detachments here. We've got a battalion, and we have a vanguard. I think that's it. That's all we've got. Any others on there? That's about it.
That's it.
So basically we've got
there's 2 battalions.
2 battalions.
2 battalions and vanguard.
2 battalions and a vanguard. So we've got basically two patriarchs, we've got 2 maguses, and we've got 2 primuses. Obviously all having their core abilities. Particularly I do really like the primuses being able to re-roll that jumping onto the board through the cult ambush. Thank you very much. Lost my words there. So we've got that, and then obviously we do know that the beasts that are the patriarchs, they will do work. So what else we've got in this army? Well, basically we've got some acolytes. We've got some acolytes filling obviously those troop choices, as well as the neophytes. The neophytes have got some mining lasers in their units, just for a little bit of extra kick. And then potentially, well, I would say the most dangerous part of this army is the masses of Genestealers. So we've got how many units of Genestealers there, Will?
4 units of 15.
4 units of 15 Genestealers, so obviously they'll be benefiting for the buffs, and they'll also be benefiting from the buffs from the Patriarchs as well. So these guys are not messing around. When these guys get in combat, there's not a lot that can stand up to them, particularly if they roll them vital 6s. We've got some cool little psychic powers, so obviously the Patriarchs are going to go for that mind control. They're going to try and get up there, they're going to try and take control of those Barbed Turajals and Harridan and try and lay waste to their own units, which is pretty mean. It's pretty harsh. Well, I'm not very happy with that, I'm not going to lie. And then we have the Maguses, and the Maguses are going for pretty much the buffing, so they're going to try and increase those, either those neophytes, or they're going to go even more for those Genestealers, make those Genestealers even more violent in combat, which is pretty brutal stuff. So obviously half this army is going to almost, well, it will almost certainly start underground and all over the place, ready to cult ambush. The rest of it will hide, no doubt, and try and camp on those objectives. But very, very interesting game. So we'll see what happens now. We'll go on to deployment and come back to you. But this is going to be something that you will never ever see, and probably will never see again. 2 absolutely vastly different armies, very, very different play styles. This could be over very quickly. It could go the distance. We'll see. Let's go into deployment. Right guys, let's come back at the end of deployment. So let's have a quick scan around and look at the objectives. So we're playing Dawn of War as far as deployment, and the objectives are pretty well spread out. So we've got one over here, we've got one over this side over here, we've got one in the middle, we've got one over that side, one over in the wall, in the woods over there, and we've got, I just want to scan over here, we've got one over here, and obviously one there. So pretty well spread, which is nice. Obviously the cults have got the ability to really kind of pop up wherever they want, but this Tyranid force is pretty quick as well, so we can get to most of the objectives if we want to, which is handy. So obviously pretty much my whole army was set up before Will even had an opportunity to set anything up, because most of these things are in ambush. But what he's got out, he's pretty much got the little kind of foot slogging, more shooty cult guys. So it's mainly the neophytes that are on the ball. We've got some acolyte units as well across here, so pretty much well spread, trying to use the cover to his advantage. So yeah, so that's pretty much how it is. The reality is, it's going to be pretty painful for me if Will gets first turn, because those Genestealers will likely be on my case. When you get first turn, that's the positiveness there, right? So what we're doing is, even though we're pretty much playing straight out of the book, we are going to play the roll-off for first turn, and with the army that deploys first to get a +1, which is me. I personally prefer that. It just, it just levels things out. I mean, obviously in this particular format, I would have guaranteed first turn, which yeah, great. Potentially my army is slightly more underpowered, believe it or not, than Will's, particularly playing the mission. But I just seriously don't like that auto go first. So just to have a little bit of a bonus is nice, but still to make it a randomness makes it fun and adds something to the game, I think. So we're going to do that roll off for you now. Will, you got dice ready? You ready to attempt this? Please don't do it. I'm going to. There we go. Right, so +1 to me. Here we go. Let's go. Let's go, and go. 3 for me, 2 for Will. So obviously mine would be a 4, Will's would be a 2. So the Tyranids are going to go first. So I'm going to try and kill some stuff as we go into turn 1.
So he's initiative.
Oh, actually, yeah, that's a good shout. Actually, this I could have spoke too soon. Will just said that of course he's going to try and seize.
Going to use this magical dice. It always lands on
Will,
this.
how dare you, mate? You're using my dice. Right, okay, cool.
I did this when we first played.
Yeah, I'm not loving this. Go for it. Oh, so close. 5. So it will definitely be turn 1 to the Tyranids. Right guys, so coming back a very, very quick first turn. So the objective I pulled were secure objective 3, secure objective 2 and secure objective 5. So 3 is over here by the Scrag Terrigal, and we've got 5 in the middle, and then we have 2 over there. Okay, so obviously wasn't really going to go for that one. Just thought I would probably try and go for some easier kills in the middle, going for some smaller units. So what happened, I had to sacrifice shooting from this Barbed Turajal, so he legged it into the centre to make sure he held that. Harridan flew forward as far as he could pretty much to make sure he could engage and also put some hurt on with his cannons. This Barbed Turajal just parked himself over onto an objective there, just bearing in mind that what potentially could be drawn by Will in the next turn, so just keeping him on the objectives is probably the best place if you can't take an objective that turn. When it came into the shooting rounds, we did some damage. Took 3 off the unit over here, took another 3 over this unit, and took 1 over on this unit here, as well as taking 3 in the unit behind those trees. So did multiple damage, went for all the acolyte units, all the small little 5-man units, It's always the best way to go, to make sure I get that first blood, and hopefully also try and see if I can take some damage off them through their leadership test at the end of the round. Harridan then smashed in with assault. I tried to multi-assault, but I failed. I got a pretty poor 3 inches with my charge, but that was enough to get in on one unit. I used one command point to make sure I saw off that unit, killing all 5 of them to take first blood. So at the end of that turn, I did score my objective here, and I scored my objective in the centre, and I got first blood. I have not scored objective 2, but I will keep that in play, and I will wait to see whether I can take that in the next turns. So now we're going to kind of hold fast. We're going to hold on to our asses, because here come the Colts. Okay, so we come back at the end of Genestealer Colt turn 1, much longer turn, funny enough, and a pretty successful one for the Genestealer Colt. So not everything coming off exactly as we would like, but still some really pretty hot rolls on his Colt ambush, maximising use of the command points to make sure he get things as close as possible. So the big news really was the Genestealer units. So 2 of them got the rolls they needed to. So the brown unit there rolled that whopping 6. And the green unit rolled the 5. He used his command point to get even a little bit closer to make sure they only had a 6-inch charge on Harry. On top of that, obviously he had escorts from the Tyranids, Patriarchs, everything around him to make sure all the buffs were going to come off. So did pretty well there. And actually, to be fair, other things didn't go too badly off. So even though he rolled a couple of poor rolls, meaning the things were going to be coming out flanking, these guys came in this side. And these guys came in from down this side as well, so not too bad. As far as cards, we'll need to get Kingslayer, which obviously was Harridan, and Dominion and Secure Objective 3. So all achievable objectives. In fact, he could have scored every objective on the board, but he decided to try and take down some of the threats rather than go for that one and spread his army too thin, which is probably the right call. We don't want to leave these big guys running around too long. So focus mainly what he could do on Harridan. Quite good action in the psychic phase, buffing up his Genestealer unit so they had +1 strength, and also multiple smites going off on Harry, stripping him down quite significantly within the psychic phase. Again, using command points left, right and centre to make sure it's as effective as possible. Shooting phase again, not too bad. Majority of the mining lasers failed to hit their mark, but one did, and when it did some work. So again, Harry came down a few wounds from that as well. So pretty damaging stuff. The assaults, the only one that really didn't pay off was down here. The Genestealers did try to come in and try and do some work on this Heragil. I did do some work in the Overwatch, taking down a few, and we will potentially getting quite fortunate with his invuln saves. But then in come the main action. The Genestealers slammed in. The first unit, the green guys that were pretty much absolutely buffed up, they were like hitting ridiculously, wounding on 5s, tons of attacks, brutal stuff. Pretty much doing majority of the work on their own, leaving Harry with just 6 wounds left. I did interrupt and tried to do some damage on the orange unit, and did take a few casualties there, which was good, but not enough for them to take the remaining damage away from him, and taking my Warlord, the Kingslayer, scoring Will that point and that objective. He rolled a 3 victory points for that as well, taking up to 3. So really good stuff for him there. Obviously, he didn't come in on this one, so I still managed to stop him from getting that. So it was good that this Heragil was in that position. And he decided, as we said at the beginning, not to go for the multiple objectives by trying to score everything. So he's going to, hang on to that, because it's very achievable with an army that actually can move around relatively quickly. So at the end of that round, the Warlord is down, and also this guy took some damage as well. So he is actually relatively damaged as well. He's down to 16 wounds, I think, 14 wounds. So pretty hurt there. He did strike back and do some damage. But yeah, so my guys are hurting a little bit. I'm not going to lie. It's tough when you lose a big model in such a small model count army. But we've bit in. We've done some damage to the danger unit. And obviously with the Heragils, nothing really slows them down. They will come out of combat, they will be shooting, charging and doing some more damage. So we need to try and take out these dangerous units. Will has basically 4 really hard hitting striking units that will cause me trouble. If I can try and reduce them in power so they don't hit so hard, then we absolutely can do some work and cause some damage. We're looking for some good cards, some good cards again, hopefully to try and give me a lead, because that ultimately is what it comes down to. But we'll see what happens. Wish me luck. We're going into turn 2 for the Tyranids. Right guys, so end of turn 2 for Tyranids. Not the best of cards drawn, pretty tricky stuff. So, Witch Hunter, which obviously there's a lot of psychers on the board, but bearing in mind that my guys have to pretty much attack the closest thing to them, that's not an easy task, and they're quite hidden, are his psychers. And Kingslayer is the other one, and again his Warlord is a long way away from action, so again a tricky one to get, and I'm still holding on to Security for 2, which is the other side of the ball from those things, so pretty tricky objective. But bearing that in mind, I was going to have a go and see what we could do. So what happened? The Hurrigel over here moved away from combat, because he can do that because of his abilities. So he kind of moved away to make sure that he was in a good position to both put some more shooting in and go back in for the charge if he needed to. Barbed Hurrigel up here. I had a little bit of a plan. I'm going to try and swing around this way, try and put some hurt into the Genestealers. If potentially, I was just seeing whether maybe I could kind of get a full base around there. If I got a big charge, I might be able to base the Magus, but actually looking at it, the base is not quite big enough, so that's not going to happen. So there's an opportunity to put some more hurt on some Genestealers. Basically, there isn't very much kick in this Genestealer cult army once these Genestealers go down, particularly as they start to lose their numbers, and that's the big factor here. And as he loses them, the sting starts to come away, while those Genestealers are kicking there. It's really bad news for me. So we had to try and sort of disintegrate a few of these Genestealers, which was ultimately the plan if I wasn't going to take the objectives. So that guy swung around there, aiming up on the Genestealers. My other Hurrigel down here, he kind of decided that he was going to try and again go for a sneaky move. So the Genestealers is by far the closest target, but with a long charge we could swing around and potentially engage the Patriarch. So that was the plan with that. Shooting went really well. I absolutely mullered those Genestealers, just taking 10 with the cannons, rolling absolutely hot. So that was great. Took a lot of them down, which was going to make things a lot easier for me over there. And actually rolling pretty hot for this guy here. Again, taking sort of 4 or 5 over there. So that was good work with this guy as well. So these guys are rolling hot. Not so well with the auto hitting flamer down here, which I think we only actually killed 1. We killed 2? We killed 1. So just 1 guy for the guy that should be killing them easier. Obviously slightly slower, slightly less strength, which makes it a little bit less accurate on that regards, but still, he should be the one that should be quids in. But there we go, that's the way it works in 40k. So after that, some really long charges. I did manage to swing around and base the Patriarch, which was good stuff, but then completely fluffed in his attacks, failing to do any damage to the Patriarch. In fact, I'll do 1 wound to him. But I do know them. You made you save, didn't you? Made you save. So he palmed 1 off to the Genestealers, taking 1 down, and then saved his other save, so he did pretty well. And actually not that much work done to the rest of the Genestealers either that I allocated the rest of the wounds to. So they've done pretty well. They hit back hard, mainly through the Patriarch, taking him down just to 10 wounds, which is not good, because now he was swinging at me again. And that Patriarch does not mess around. So bad news for this guy. I need to get lucky. I need Will to roll a stinker. He has pretty much run out and burned all his command points. He has 1 left. So it's pretty tough for him now. So he's going to be pretty much now in the laps of the gods. So he needs those dice to go cold. Well, I do anyway. So we'll roll over here. So this guy over here did okay. Managed to take down quite a few of the guys. So overall, I mean, actually doing better in shooting probably than in combat, to be fair, but doing some damage to that unit. And again, same sort of effect again, doing much better in shooting than in combat. Will decided to use 2 command points and make sure that he didn't lose his last 2 Steelers there, which is the right move to make. And obviously they hang in there, and we'll try and either potentially flee away for some objectives or try and see whether they can put a hurt on that Hurrigel, who is also down on wounds. So all of my guys are hurting. Probably this one here in the middle is the one that's kind of in the best condition. He's not really seeing much damage, but everybody else is hurting now. So as much as I have 3 big guys and Will's Genestealers are very much dwindling away, he still has very much an upper hand. So we'll see what happens as we go into Genestealer Cult turn 2. Okay, so end of a very brutal turn 2 for the Genestealer Cult. We're already just in turn 2. There's not much left, and to be fair, both armies have taken a bit of a bashing, but let's do a quick recap. So basically what Will needs to do is he's still trying to get all the objectives, so he did make a bit of a play for that one. He also drew to score. What did you get? You didn't get. Yeah, you did to try and score that one over there. No, you didn't. That was to try and get Dominion. So basically, he wanted to try and take this one because obviously that would have given him Dominion. He then obviously pretty much holds everything else on the board, so no issues there. So the plan was to try and take the big guys down basically and try and keep hold of those objectives. And actually mission succeeded. The main thing was the Genestealers that were in combat broke back, ran away like cowards.
Tactical retreat.
Like absolute cowards. And then what happened was ultimately this is where the pain came. The pain train, those mining lasers that really couldn't find their mark last turn were absolutely red hot, taking wounds left, right and centre, and Will rolling like a boss on taking out the wounds as well, so lots of high numbers, and this guy went down pretty much to that, so no issues there, taken down. And then pretty much it went into combat. There was some psychic powers done, some more smites, that helping out as well. And then over here the Patriarch again rolling beastly well, 3 6s. Meaning that the other Hirajil went down there as well. What I should mention, because it was quite funny, was over here, when this barbed Hirajil went down, he did roll a 5 and thrashed out, taking 3 models from all the surrounding units. So in his last stand, doing some work, which was pretty funny to see, which was cool. I actually used a command point to get that off, so that was cool. It's a nice little last passing bash for him as they went down. Over here in combat, again, not doing particularly well. Took out 1, but that was enough to stop Will from getting Dominion and scoring all the objectives on the board, which was cool. To be honest, that's all I got left. It's going to be a pretty short turn. Let's see whether we can do some damage. We've got some cards to pull. We'll have some fun with it. There's not many very powerful models left in Will's army. He has taken a bit of hitting, but he's got the numbers and he's holding the objectives. So it's going to be pretty much a quick last turn or so, but we'll see what we can do. I'm going to try and cause some damage as we go into Tyranid turn 3. So as promised, an extremely quick turn, not a lot really I can do, and I got awful objectives. I did get one little one that potentially could have been quite cool. So this critical objective, basically I had to roll a dice, and if I got if I rolled one of the numbers, then if I controlled that objective, then I scored that at the end of the turn, and if his unit was on at the beginning of the turn, I scored D3, which is quite cool, but I didn't roll one I wanted, so it was no good. I tried to actually use my command point to get it to the objective I wanted, but still lose my last one on that and didn't get a successful roll. So as it stands, Witch Hunter and King Slayer in play, both absolutely impossible targets for me, so all it was a case of just trying to cause as much damage as possible, and that's what we did. So we moved the Barbed Hirajil in between the remaining Genestealer and the Primus. We shot out the Primus with the biocannons, massive overkill, and then finished off the Genestealer in combat and kind of consolidated closer to this unit onto that objective. Will, to be honest, probably won't be able to get to that objective this turn anyway. It's a bit too far away, and it puts a bit of distance between me and the Steelers, even though they're incredibly quick. I wouldn't be surprised if they could make that charge, but we'll see. So it's pretty much all over. I mean, it's very difficult for me to do much now, but a lot of Will's nasty stuff is now very dead, and there's not much he can do against the Hirajil unless he gets close. So the Genestealers will pretty much see him off, but he's got very few of them left. He's pretty much spread all over the board. So we'll see whether we can kind of pick him off piecemeal for the last couple of turns and see what kind of we can kind of bring together. It's unlikely, but you never know as we go into Genestealer Cult turn 3. So end of turn 3 for Genestealer Cult, and not such a good turn. Pretty much a lot of the dice rolls starting to go a little bit cold for Genestealer Cult, but probably a little too late for me. So as expected, most things are kind of out of range to do damage, but that didn't stop his Genestealer Cult getting their running shoes on and getting as close as possible to get some smites in on the big guy. So multiple smites coming in, quite a few fails to be fair, but still managing chipping away a couple of wounds. And that was before the Genestealers, one of the remaining units, 4 men strong, charged in. They stopped him from overwatching with one of the powers, shut that down, charged in, and then took another wound off him through through that as well. So he's dropped now below, he's on the next tier down, so he's very less effective, let's say, but he still hits quite well in combat, and there's only 2 of those left. That did, however, give Will the wanted Dominion, so he managed to hold every objective on the board. He only rolled a 1 for that extra objective, so not so bad there, but he's clocked up the points. He's now on 10. I think I'm on about 4, to be fair, so this is not looking so good, but what he has done is he has potentially given me a charge and maybe a few shots at his Patriarch. If I play this right, I can dash out of this combat, can potentially smash him in the face, so that could be quite fun, and that might be pretty much game, but we shall see. Let's have a go with it. Let's see what we can do. We've got 1 card to draw. Let's have some fun and see what happens as we go into turn 4 for the Tyranids. Right guys, storming turn 4 for the Tyranids. It's not going to happen, but I tell you what, we're having a good old go at it. So, as I said, Will did give me the opportunity to try and take out his Warlord, which was very generous of him. You know, he's a kind guy, you know, can't say that. So I did draw another useless card. I hold the line, which was never something that I was going to be doing, so never mind. But what I was going to do was absolutely go after that Witch Hunter and go after his Warlord. So we broke out of combat, charged in as far as we could, made sure that the Patriarch was the closest target, and in the end we shot him down with the bio cannons. Even though we were reduced 1 to hit, still enough damage getting through. Even with Will's Warlord trait, he failed to save him and he bit the dust, which gave me Kingslayer and Slay the Warlord, and I rolled a 3 for my victory points for that, so great stuff there, pretty good. And then, as I had nothing else to do, we charged into the Primus and saw him as well off in combat. So pretty cool stuff. So in the end scored an extra 4 victory points out of that, which I think we just worked it out, so it takes it to 10 to 8 to Will. Obviously I expect him to rack them up because he has got obviously ball control massively on this table, but I have kind of come away from most of the dangerous stuff. He does have smites, which are a pain in the arse, and no doubt they will be a thorn in my side again for this turn. But I'm pretty much in no man's land. There's a few Genestealers knocking around, but nothing too scary. And his little guys now on this side of the board, I think are starting to look pretty scared, because his nasty stuff is right down here, and they are getting nowhere near. So good stuff as we go into turn 4 for the Genestealer cult. Still potentially all to play for? Maybe? Probably not. Right guys, and as you can probably tell, this can mean only one thing. Unfortunately, it is game over. The Barbed Tyraniid has bit the dust. And yet, Smite did some work, but ultimately those mining lasers, really painful stuff. So 2 awesome hits and really loads and loads of damage coming in there, being enough to strip off his remaining wounds. Not before he did go out, he did actually kill all this lot just in death throws, which is quite cool, which is quite funny. But amazingly good fun game. It actually wasn't too one-sided at the end, and in the end Will did actually kind of get a whole load of cards that he needed, which we kind of thought was going to happen. But for a second there, it looked like Tyranids might be in for a chance, but a lot of fun, loads and loads of dead Genestealers and cult everywhere, big guys biting the dust all over the board, so tons and tons of fun. Thank you very much, Will, for joining us for this game, much appreciated, mate.
Very much enjoyed it, thank you very much.
And until the next one, please do like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now. And just before I go, I did kind of make a little bit of a bet. I promised that I would declare that if I lost this game, even though it was very much against me, that I would declare that a Jaffa cake is actually not a biscuit, but a cake. So apparently, guys, you've heard it here first, it's actually a cake. So there you go. But again, guys, see you later. Bye for now.